Well, if you want to see, blimey, how I caught this massive catfish and several other catfish, whoa there, stay tuned for this episode of Specimen Series. Well, welcome to Specimen Series. It's absolutely boiling hot this afternoon. And if there's one species on these hot summer days, going into these hot summer nights, that I really enjoy catching, it has to be catfish. Now, if you haven't fished for catfish in the UK, I would say they're our hardest fighting freshwater fish. They really do give you great sport. So I'm here at Waveney Valley Lakes. It's quite close to my home in Suffolk, and there's lots of caravans on site amongst lots of different lakes. Now, I've caught plenty of big catfish from the lake next door, which is Marsh Lake, but Blake at the fishery has kindly invited me to have a session on Yew Tree Lake. Now, you can't normally fish this lake, but the lodge next to us is currently up for sale, so there's an empty pitch here, which means I can come and have a go. So he assures me there's plenty of catfish in this lake and one or two nice big ones, so fingers crossed we can have some sport. Well, as I mentioned, I've never fished Yew Tree Lake before, so the first job was to get the marker rod out, explore the lake and see if I can find some nice features to try and catch a catfish or two. Now, in front of me, about 12 or 13 rod lengths out, was an area of shallow gravel, but it was quite coarse gravel and it was only about 3 foot deep. But just behind that gravel, it drops off nicely down to about 5 or 6 foot, and it's a much smoother lake bed. So that's where I'm going to fish. But I put the marker rod into the line clip on the reel, and I use that as a template to get the rods what I'm going to be fishing with marked out at. So once I've wrapped them round the wrap sticks, I put a bit of marker elastic on the line to make it super easy to keep putting those rods back out on the spot without having to wrap them out each time. I've got a big bucket of smelly bait mixed up. I've got a load of pellets. It's a mixture of sticky baits, krill pellets in all different sizes, bulked out with some trout pellets, lots of sticky baits, cloudy krill liquid, then a mixture of different size krill boilies. So catfish, they do like stinky pellets, and the krill is perfect for them. I'm going to get the rods out. I'm going to place them out there nice and neatly with a bait boat, because I'm using quite long braided hook links, which I'll talk about a bit later in the session. But for now, let's get those rods out. We might get a bite in the afternoon, but if I'm honest, catfish fishing for me this time of year has all been about evenings, night times and early mornings. But you never know, we aren't going to catch anything if we don't put the rods out. Well, anyone that's been carp fishing for a number of years have probably heard of Waveney Valley. It's steeped in history for its carp fishing. The likes of Rod Hutchison and Andy Little and many more well-known carp anglers have fished these lakes in the past. But as well as the carp fishing, it's had catfish in for a number of years. And it wasn't long after putting the rods out, I saw signs of activity, a little bit of fizzing, a few line bites, and then I was in. This has to be the best bit. When you hook a catfish, they really do scrap. I'm not messing about with the gear here. I've got 4-pound test curve rods. I've got about a 25-pound break and strain line. And even an average size cat will push that to its limits. I'm surprised I didn't get a bite earlier. I know I don't normally get bites in the daytime, but myself and Chris have been sitting back watching them bubble up on top of the bait, wondering if it's carp or cats, because I have got quite big agricultural baits on. But eventually the left-hand rod has picked up, screamed off, and we're connected to a cat. It is really shallow in the margins of this swim, so I've got my shorts on and I'm careful. I can just wade out and slip him in the net. Not a giant, but it's a bite and it's in the daytime, which is nice. In you go, fella. Lovely job. Well, it might only be a small catfish, but I'm just quite pleased to get a bite in the bright sunshine, because it tends to fish much better through the night and early morning. So if I can pick this up, they are a very awkward shaped catfish to hold, but only a little fella, but it still was stripping line off the reel fairly rapidly and gave me a fantastic fight. And I've got a feeling it's not going to be the biggest one of the trip. Get your little fella, go and get your grandma. Whoa. There were still signs of fizzing on the spot, so I was super keen to get that rig nice and neatly back onto the bubbles using the bait boat. With the rods back out on the spot, it was time to chill out, enjoy the evening sun and hope for another bite. It's a big one. Uh-oh. What do I go there for? I have to jump up onto. Oh, he's turned. Who's playing who? Got a bit of tree and a bit of catfish, but we just have to let him curl in the net. So it's not huge, but it's a bit bigger than the last one. In you go. In you go. Catfish, they can swim backwards. If you get the head on the spreader block, they normally just shuffle in. Come on, mate, in you get. He's in. That was made 10 times harder than this. Well, I'm really surprised to be getting these bites in the middle of the day, and a bit bigger than the first one, this one, and another excellent fight. And I do my best to lift them up. They're a really difficult shape to pick up, catfish, but how about that? Like I say, our hardest fight in freshwater fish. I absolutely enjoy the fight. Not so sure I enjoy them when I get them on the bank quite so much. They're a bit of an armful and they're very slimy, but well, love them or hate them, they're brilliant sport. But I'm going to slip this one back. Before I put that rod out, I'm going to talk you through the rigs that I'm using to catch these catfish. He's off. Well, let's talk through the tackle that I'm using to catch these catfish. And I think one of the things I enjoy about fishing for them is they will eat all sorts of different baits. You can catch them on dead baits, you can catch them on live baits, they'll eat squid, and then they'll eat just about any type of boilie or pellet. And that's exactly what we're doing on this trip. We're using kind of beefed up carp tactics. So the rig itself that I'm using is a nice simple hair rig, but everything's bigger. I've got a size 2 hook with a snowman rig on there, made of a 20mm krill active, tipped with a 16mm pop-up. Then I've got a 35-pound coated braid, and the only part of that coating I strip off is just to tie the hair rig. The hook link itself has still got that coating on it, just to cope with that rough mouth that a catfish has got. Then it's on a nice simple running rig. I've got one of the Quarter Safe Zone leaders. They break at 30-pound. I honestly think they break a lot more than that because I've given them absolute hell when I'm playing catfish and I've never had any problems with them. And then a nice simple run ring with a 3.5-ounce lead damper buffer bead. And then the hardware itself, they fight really hard catfish, even an average sized catfish. So I've got an 11-foot, 4-pound test curve dedicated catfish rod. And on that rod, I've got an Advanta big pit reel loaded with 25-pound mono, and that'll cope with any catfish that swims in this lake, although they do absolutely pull your arm off. I'm really surprised to get those 2 bites in this bright sun, so I'm going to get this rod back out because I've got a feeling we're going to get a few more catfish before the sun goes down. Well, as I expected, as we come into the evening, it's now about 6 o'clock in the evening, and this catfish is doing its best to pull me in the lake by the looks of it. We've only just put that other fish back, just dropped the other rod out, only just turned the alarm on if I'm honest, and it's ripped off straight away. They really do pull, blimey. Come on mate, come this way. Whee. And I'm using all 4 pound of this test curve at the minute to try and keep control of this. This is probably about as close to big game fishing as you can get in freshwater in Norfolk, I should think, or Suffolk I should say. My word. The truth is, if it's 10 minutes, it just seems long playing a fish, doesn't it? It probably does take 10-15 minutes to land one of these big cats, but because it's 10 or 15 minutes of you playing them at full velocity, so to speak. We just rolled on the top. It is a nice big one. There's quite a few lily pads in this lake, but they aren't that thick, and they just tend to lead through them, especially on this gear. If it gets stuck, I'll just send the videographer swimming. He's a better swimmer than me. It's a big one, look. I will be back shortly with a large catfish. I think he's a big one. You always know they're good when you have to shuffle them in the net. In you go, mate. Don't reverse. He's in. From some old Mildreds. What the bloody hell's that man doing? I don't know. Well, they're getting slightly bigger, I think, and it's really nice because a lot of my fishing does involve a lot of finesse. I fish for a lot of sort of big little species normally, if that makes sense. So to have a proper good tug of war with a nice hard fighting fish on some fairly agricultural gear is great sport. And I think we're going to get more still, even up to dark. I was thinking we were going to have to wait till it gets dark to get the first fish, but 3 fish already. We're nowhere near dark. We've got a couple of hours of light left. I've got a feeling we're going to see some more catfish. Thank you very much. Whoa. Trying to reverse. A fighter, but there isn't a lot of weight there. That'll be a 36-pound common when I get it in. I slipped back what could best be described as a little kitten, and as those light levels started to drop, as I expected, the action got better and better and the catfish really came on the feed. Two-hand job, this one. There's definitely a knack to that. And no sooner have I got that one in the net and the other bobbin's lifted up, we're into a second catfish. And it's a good job I brought 2 nets with me. I've got a second net here, so you never know. Sometimes it's all or nothing when you're fishing. Fit a square peg in a round hole. You get. He's in. Well, it did look good for a bite in the last hour, so they were fizzing and fizzing and fizzing, and I've typically had a double take. So I'm glad I packed 2 nets. Both of these gave me a real good scrap. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to fish through the night. I've been really fortunate this afternoon. They've played ball in a bright sunshine. I've had 2 nice ones on dusk. I think me and Chris would both rather get a few hours good sleep, be up first light in the morning. Let's face it, it makes filming a lot easier if you can catch them in the daylight. It seems as if they are definitely playing ball. So I'm going to slip these 2 fellas back, have a bit of a clean up, and we'll catch up with you in the morning. Good morning, how about this for a rude awakening? The cats have been fizzing on those pellets as soon as I've put the rods out this morning. And I'm into what feels like another good fish. And I'm going to concentrate because he's doing his best to get on that far bank again. Hopefully we're in for another nice fish. I'll have to get up on there, won't I? Yeah, can you move them rods? We just want to jump up on the... Nothing else I can do. He's coming. Well, I've had to get up on the stage in here because this feels like a good fish, and he's kited down past that island, but I will give him as much as I dare and try and persuade him to head back this way. When you hook a big catfish, whatever kit you're on, you're not stopping them. My word. Hook the beast of Waveney Valley. Quick, well, you hold on to that, I'm going to run around. See what's it. I'm back. See him now. We have cleared the danger zone. I'll have to do the same again in a minute. I'll have to pass and then run back round. I'll get him well into this open water. Right, when? You're going to keep this bit in. We've got the marker elastic back on now, so see you in a bit. How is it?
Very nice.
Welcome to the Chris Ansell Specimen Series. Right, I'll go back to the swim. Goodness me. Come on, mate, just slide the net out. Don't do what your mate did yesterday. Yeah. Well, they just keep getting bigger and bigger, and that really was a rude awakening. This one absolutely pulled my arm off. I had to jump up on the balcony of the lodge next to us. Then I had to jump down the other side at the next door neighbour's garden and get Chris to pass the rod, but this one was not happy. But I'm slightly out of breath. I'm not going to weigh it, but I'd have said it's probably over 50 pounds, this one. It's a real armful. And what great sport. As I mentioned before in the video, if you haven't fished for catfish and you want to experience this awesome fight that they give them a go. Cheers, buddy. Well, this one is pushing this gear to its limits again. I'm using an 11-foot, 4-pound test curve dedicated catfish rod and the Advanta big pit reel. And well, the Advanta reels, they're handling these cats really well. The clutches are superb. And both the rod and the reel and all the other kit that I've used in this video are available at Angling Direct. Whether you go on the app, look on the website, or even better, go into store. Got one on the other rod now, Chris. Double take. Oh Lord. Because there's such a islandy lake. How's yours?
Lovely. Do a swap. Yeah, I'll go with that one.
I'll go and get this one in a net. Ooh.
That's fish number 1.
Fish number 2.
Hold on.
Well done, team. Yeah. Well, I'm going to let the smaller out of this double take. Just going to let him out of the net. Let's see if we can find him. He's quite a cool, dark looking little catfish. I'm going to put him straight back. But that one's a little bit bigger in that net, and they're quite cool looking fish. So let's have a look at that one on the unhooking mat and have a look at a catfish in a bit more detail. Well, let's have a close look at one of these Wels catfish, because they are very different to any other fish that swim in our UK waters. And I think the reason they fight so hard is they are all tail. They're like a giant tadpole. So they're solid muscle, and it's that tail that give them that power and that strength. And they are absolute eating machines. They'll eat just about anything. And if we take a look inside the mouth, I'll probably describe it, the best way to describe it is like sharp Velcro, but they've got these crushing pads that will make mincemeat of small fish, even bird life. And then they absolutely love carp angler's bait as well. So they'll eat absolutely anything. That's why they grow so big. And lastly, their senses. They've got these whiskers that they can feel around on the bottom. They can smell out all that smelly bait, and they can also detect the vibration from any live fish that they want to prey on as well. So because they're so versatile and they eat so many different types of food, there's lots of different methods we can use to catch them and enjoy that awesome fight that they give. Well, I really enjoyed this session. It was bite after bite after bite with some really hard fighting catfish. And for me, it's just some nice chilled out fishing. It's not too far from home. They're not the hardest fish to catch in the world, but they're certainly the hardest fighting fish. So I'm going to let this fella go. I'm going to make it the last one. But if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more episodes of Specimen Series, and give the video a like as well.